Huh?
I don't think I had my headphones on.
You didn't?
I don't think I did. Yes, I did, because I pulled your mic away.
Okay.
All right. Well, they're on now. All right. You good?
I'm good.
You're always good. All right. We're going to welcome. Throw your phone around like that. Like everybody can't hear the phone being tossed on.
I didn't even know we were recording yet.
I already hit start.
I thought you were going to do the dance.
I was just about to say welcome back. All right. Welcome back for another episode of 217 South Mills.
Brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane.
And Pizza Del Rey, located at 911 North Hastings Way. They have the pizza buffet, frozen pizzas for sale, and they are our favorite pizza place in the state of Wisconsin.
Not as favorite as your coffee place, though, right, Bill?
Cabin Coffee. I love that coffee, especially when I got a fridge full every podcast.
Yep.
All right, so we are back to talk Badgers and Packers. A little recap on the weekend, and that Badger game was a struggle.
It was. I guess my overall is, we weren't projected to be even in the
Correct.
in the stadium.
Correct.
Like we were supposed to be blown out by 40 some. Was it 40?
Well, I think that's what we were predicting.
Right.
I think the spread was like so. I got a bookie friend of mine. I don't personally gamble. That lives down in Florida. I gambled once in my life, Joe. It was 14 years ago.
Yeah.
I placed one bet and lost horribly, and it was my first time and last time ever gambling. But I got this guy who's a bookie down in Florida that always calls me up asking me about Wisconsin sports, and I always give him my input on how much I think they're going to score, who's going to win the game. This dude's won a ton of money off me. I never see any of the money though, but he's always winning. So bookie in Florida, you're welcome for all the picks I give you. But yeah, we predicted them. We were not excited about the game. I think the spread was anywhere from 10.5 to 14.5. And we did not think that spread was going to help Wisconsin at all, with Oregon being number one, playing the type of football they were playing. What we did say, if I recall correctly, is obviously it was a night game in Camp Randall in November. Like all to our benefit.
Absolutely.
Like that, and that's all we had to our benefit, because we've seen sloppiness on offense, sloppiness on defense.
Right.
And I mean, special teams, I'd say, was probably the most consistent group out of the Badgers all season long. But yeah, there wasn't a lot of hope going up against the number one team other than the stadium mitigating factors.
Agreed. But it was still a good showing, and defense played lights out.
They did. That secondary came to play, linebackers came to play, and yeah, that was it. So offense was stagnant.
Yeah.
And I do believe did we not say they fired their OC?
Yeah, they fired their offensive coordinator, Phil Longo.
Longo,
let him go.
Yeah.
Yep. So
and that was the
air raid offense.
Air raid offense, yeah, which we never really saw. Was no real difference in any other Badger offense in the last 20 years. But it was a cool nickname they had for it.
Is that the only thing it had going for him? Was a cool nickname?
I don't know. I've been watching the offense all year, and I think, yeah, cool nickname.
I think it goes back, though, we talked about this. I just don't think that Wisconsin gets the kind of talent that Phil Longo needed for us to perform in the air raid offense. That's my opinion.
Absolutely true. And I think me and you, we did. I keep forgetting, trying to put a timeline together here. Oh. We almost need to do this show live, 12 hours a day, just put it out there, our conversations. Because we have a conversation 2 days ago. Now we're trying to repeat it.
Yeah.
But we had the conversation, what comes first, the horse or the cart, or the chicken or the egg?
Right.
So we end up getting, when we were talking linemen, because that's what we always go to first. We got these extremely tall, what me and you consider, we say the word skinny because we're big guys, but not beefy, muscular linemen. They're very tall, what we call skinny, athletic linemen.
Almost a pseudo tight end.
Correct. I'd say that like a heavy tight end.
Like a heavy tight end.
A heavy, stronger tight end.
Right.
And we get these guys, and now, granted, just for the audience, the difference is a 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, 4th and yard and a half. We're getting our era, late 90s. We're getting the first down all day long, no questions asked. I think we missed one 3rd and 1 in our career. And And I believe it was in Indiana. We got yelled at, got threatened. We were going to lose our seats on the plane, all that stuff. But that was one that we lost.
Yep.
It was just a given we were going to get it. These guys are 10 times the athletes we were.
Right.
They have centers getting around the corner, downfield on linebackers. You got guards getting downfield on safeties. You got tackles pulling, getting on linebackers on safeties. They are athletic. Now, here's the chicken and the egg conversation. We still have the pipeline to New Jersey and to the East Coast bringing in these power running backs.
Correct.
So you have a power running back, and there's only one Rondane, but let's use Rondane for an example. You got a Rondane type of running back in the backfield, but you got athletic guys blocking from it. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
And then you say you want to be air raid, but you're running the ball and you're getting stuffed. It's just like, if you want to be air raid, why don't you get more of a scat back out of the backfield? That's James White.
Yep.
James White was that one back, and I love James White.
Yeah.
But he sort of broke the mold at Wisconsin where everybody was power, 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 power. Then James White came along, and they're like, why should we run him 22-23 zone? Let's get him outside.
Yep.
Boom, you get him outside, you dump off the screens to him. He makes it to the NFL, has a luxurious career.
About several time over Super Bowl champion for the Patriots.
Super Bowl MVP the last time with the Patriots.
Correct.
But that's what we're not doing at Wisconsin. We're not coordinating our linemen with our running back with what we say we want to do as an offense.
Right.
It's just not all lining up. So if you want to have the power running back, you got to get bigger, stronger linemen. If you want to have the agile linemen, get the running back that you're going to call plays for outside in the open field, and get better receivers, better quarterbacks. And we keep talking. It comes down to money. We got an episode coming out next couple of weeks about NIL and how money affects colleges. Right. And we've talked about it many times. But yeah, it's just a disconnect with college football, and it's especially a disconnect with the Badgers right now.
And I think it's hard too because when Coach Alvarez came to Wisconsin, he built a wall around the state. And we didn't let our good players leave. We didn't let our linemen, and our linemen flourished here. And now the problem we have right now is these monster offensive linemen are going to different schools. Yep. Now, again, is it because they have a better chance of winning a national championship? They have better exposure going to the NFL? Because if you recall, back in the 90s, we had a pipeline of linemen that went to the NFL. Like Absolutely. That, I mean, we were O-line U. Yep. I mean, honestly. And now I'm not seeing that.
No. And a great example of that, a guy that came out our senior year, he came out early from Nebraska, Dominic Raiola. Came out as a junior, center for the Detroit Lions for, I think, 11, 12 years. His younger brother, Donovan Raiola, was debating going to Nebraska. Dominic said, no, don't go to Nebraska, go to Wisconsin. They pump out NFL offense. So you got a Nebraska alum that played over 10 years in the NFL, tells his younger brother to go to Wisconsin because that's what Wisconsin was at the time. And to your point, it's not. I'm friends with Josh Heupel, the head coach at Tennessee. He called me up when he was, I think he was a co-offensive coordinator at Oklahoma. And he asked me, he's like, Bill, how do I get some of those Wisconsin linemen down there? I go, easy, Josh. Put a motion W on the side of your helmet. I'm like, they ain't leaving. Right. They're going to Madison. Yep. Like, if you're the best, or you're the top 20 O-lineman in Wisconsin, your top 1, 2, and 3 schools is University of Wisconsin-Madison.
And back in the 90s, there was 6 players from my conference, the same conference that your son was at, that went to the Badgers on scholarship or walk-on and produced. Like, that was an easy decision, when I was being recruited. One, obviously being from the state. Number 2, I got 6 guys from our conference that committed to going to Wisconsin. Like, it was just an automatic. It was automatic.
Exactly. Back then, the biggest disappointment was if you didn't get offered that Wisconsin scholarship and you grew up in the state. Now what's my decision to make?
Right.
Where it was guaranteed, that's where you want to go. And it's not the same now. And money has a big deal with it. Obviously, we talk about NIL, transfer portal, all that stuff. But back to the game.
Yes.
Oregon, number 1 team in the country, coming to Camp Randall. I don't know if they overlooked us. I don't know if they didn't expect. Now, here's another thing that I say, and we talked about a little with coming to Camp Randall for a night game, is I believe Oregon Stadium only holds like 50,000 people. Because I think when they played at Michigan, it was more than double. Michigan was more than double Oregon Stadium, which is surprising with Mike Backham. You'd think they'd have like 120,000 seat stadium. But, that too, coming to Camp Randall, first time in a long time playing the number 1 team in the country, and we're playing the score is competitive. Student section actually stayed.
Right.
They filled up relatively quickly compared to what they normally do,
right.
And they were there through the end of the game, which was impressive. We wish, as alumni, you see that every week, but that was impressive for that game. At the end of the day, defense played their hearts out.
Yep.
I mean, to hold a team like that to 16 points is unreal. To hold any team to 16 points as a defense, that's a tremendous win. To hold the number one team in the country to 16 points.
Yep. One of the most high-powered offenses in the nation right now.
Yep.
As it's quoted, and the 16 points. But that was reminiscent of 90s. And, I mean,
yes,
we've always kind of produced on defense, especially when we played. Like we shut them down.
Yeah. To this day, I still say hey, don't get me wrong. Ron Dane was and is best running back to ever play college football. But our defense was better than our offense. Our defense won more games than we did with the Heisman Trophy winner. And I think Ron would attest to it on offense. Our defense kept us in games. We did the one episode or a segment of an episode talking about the 90s defense, and we'll probably replay that again. And just that picture of the stats. I think out of the top 4 stats in the country at the time, we were number 1 in 3 of them, and we were like number 3 in the fourth one. Sure. So our defense was unreal. But looking at the stats from this game, a couple of the things that stood out on offense, the only positive was Tawee Walker. He did get 97 yards on 20 carries. Once again, to your point, we're running the ball when we're saying air raid offense.
Yep.
But at QB, Locke threw another interception game. Yep. He had that bad interception. Not bad. He had that costly interception at the end of the game when we had a chance to go down the field and tie it up or win the game. And it was just one of those, it got deflected at the line. I mean, you could get on the kid about the pass should have been higher or you should have thrown it through a lane or whatever, but a D lineman tipping the ball and then a D lineman having their interception, it's rare.
Yeah,
I mean,
he only had 12 completions out of 28 attempts.
So that's what I was going to say. That one play didn't cost him the game. No. It was the offensive play throughout the whole game.
96 total yards throwing the ball.
Like, you can't do that and win a game, let alone whether you're the Badgers or any college football team, you can't score 13 points and expect to win.
Well, we couldn't run the ball and we couldn't throw the ball. So we had nothing left in the tank. Yeah. We had nothing.
Yep.
So thank God our defense showed up because otherwise it would have been a bloodbath.
Our defense showed up, and also I'll give a shout out too to our special teams. It was where is it here? I forget. Fourth quarter, they tried faking a field goal in the fourth quarter, and we stopped them. Right. Now, from going to such a high that we stop them on the field goal, that keeps us in the game where it's only a 3-point game.
Correct.
To the next series, we go 3-0. Yep. Typical Wisconsin offense right now, where you got to capitalize on a big play like that. Now, some of the downside, we lost Hunter Wohler. I believe it was a head injury. He's a former Muskego High School graduate. Now, just to bring it all back to DC Everest and the conference we played in, Muskego, I believe, is the team that's playing Bayport, who was the team that beat out DC Everest. So Muskego, Bayport are playing this Friday for the state championship. But Wohler had a team-high 12 tackles. After he left the game, it was Christian Aliegro. I cannot pronounce words today. I believe it's Aliegro. He continued looking good as a budding star at linebacker. He came into the game with a team-high I can't even read. Second on the team with 10 tackles and the tackle for a loss in that game. Okay. So, I mean, there's still stars out there, but they played as a unit on defense, and then special teams came up when they had to. It was just offense laid an egg. I mean,
okay, so now let me ask you this. I'm going to pick that dumb Dago brain of yours. Phil Longo, do you agree with we should let him go with 2 games left in the season? And so I want your opinion about that, as how does that affect your offense? How does that affect your quarterback? How does that affect your whole team going forward when we're on the cusp right now, the verge of not making a freaking playoff for the first time in – a bowl game in how long?
20 some years, I think. I don't know. I guess it's one of those obviously it's a disruption. I mean, we never lost a coach to a firing. Our head coach never left, and our line coach never left. Right. We did have an OC change halfway through our career, but other than that, on offense, everything else stayed the same. So we really had relatively no change at all. So just change alone, I think, is disruptive.
Correct.
I think the only thing on the line for the Badgers right now is a bowl game. You got 2 games that you have to win one to make a bowl game. You win 2, you get a better bowl game than if you win 1. I think ultimately, I don't know this for a fact, but I believe the main reason for letting him go now, as opposed to 2 weeks from now, is you get ahead of the curve on. I don't believe you could interview while the season's going on, but you're already done with that process. You're starting to look at the next guys. If somebody's not hired right now, if they're not on a staff right now, I believe you can interview them. So I think that's the one advantage. But yes, the disadvantage is you still have a bowl game to play for. Now at the same time, too, wasn't like he was helping us get wins.
Very true.
Hey, Joe, it's November. What's the drink of the month at Cabin Coffee Altoona?
This month is the gingerbread cabin mocha.
Ooh, is that made with real gingers?
We tried. They kept on trying to steal the soul of the recipe.
What's it really made with then?
Gingerbread syrup, dark chocolate, and 2 shots of espresso, steamed milk of your choice, whipped cream.
Sounds good. I'll give it a try next time at Cabin Coffee Altoona.
Watch out for those gingers.
So are we going to go downhill?
Does it come back to the coaches or the players?
I go back to the chicken and the egg again. I mean, players are getting paid. How many players? Like that's an interesting stat somebody needs to put out. Like when we were there were guys that played a ton of guys played 2 years in a row. Ton of guys played 3 years in a row. A handful of guys played 4 years in a row.
Right.
Today, are there many guys that play 2 years in a row for the Wisconsin Badgers, let alone any college football team? It's just, there's so many transfers, so many guys coming in, going out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even think about like our era. Once you commit, these are scholarship guys. There was a point, I think it was a year ago or 6 months ago, whatever, when we had like 9 quarterbacks on the, like somebody asked me, like, what do you think about the quarterback situation? I'm like, I have no clue who the quarterback is,
right,
who it's going to be. I know we're not going into camp with 9.
Right.
So who's leaving? I mean, at one point, we were getting quarterbacks from other schools that are like, oh, look at this huge star we got. Then boom, a month later, he's gone. Another guy's coming in. So I don't know. I don't know who it's on. I mean, ultimately, coaches got to coach, players got to play.
Right.
But who does it fall? I mean, you would think it falls on coaches first, players second, because they got to coach them up to win the game. But right now, it seems like everybody's failing.
Right.
I mean, I don't necessarily want to or have to point a finger at anybody. Nobody's doing their job.
Yep, I agree.
Except this last game, the defense. Yep. Defense, you couldn't ask the defense to do anything more this last game.
So that takes us on to our last 2 games. We have to win one of the next 2 games, and we have Nebraska next. And they are 5-5 right now, and we are playing in Nebraska, I believe.
We are at Nebraska. And the funny thing, too, so we mentioned with the O-lineman earlier, Dominic Raiola and his brother Donovan Raiola. Well, his son is the Raiola that's playing quarterback at Nebraska. Yep. So just ironic that that's up. But yeah, they're 5-5 right now, but it doesn't matter. It's a Big Ten game.
And they always play us tough.
It's end of November.
And we're playing there.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter.
There's no guaranteed wins.
And then
there's never a guaranteed win, but especially not now.
And then if we don't beat Nebraska or we don't come up with a win, then we play that shitty team to the west of us.
To the west.
I'm not going to say their name. And I promise you right now they are 6-4. Regardless if they are 6-5, they are going to bring all they have. We are playing at Camp Randall, but they would love nothing more than to knock the Badgers out of a bowl and then the axe. So Absolutely. This is their Super Bowl.
And what little there is still with states with recruiting in the state, they'll use that to the best of their advantage to recruit every good player out of Wisconsin to say, look at what we've not only did to them if they were to win this game, look at what we did to them this year, but also look at the last 5-10 years, how many times we beat them. Like, I think we went well over 12 years, maybe 15 years, never giving up the axe. Like, I got to know some of the Gopher players, and I used to challenge them. I'm like, hey, I'll give you $20 if you take a picture of your locker room with the empty axe case, because we never saw the case empty.
Right.
From the time we played, we never saw it empty. From the time post-playing, when we go back, we never saw it empty.
Yep.
Like, we never knew what that case looked like without the axe in it, other than game day when we took it out to chop down goalposts. Like, let alone we never did that as linemen, because linemen never get to the front and the back. But
I'm not running around the field trying to get the axe.
Especially when the clock's at 0.
I'm too winded and too tired. By the time I get down to one side of the field, they're running back to the other side. I
100% agree.
Can't have that in me anymore.
100% agree. The other thing, now we're on to the NFL with the Packers. So the Packers got a W.
Yes, they did.
You want me to use it?
Yeah, go ahead.
She wasn't pretty, but she was a good fuck.
There you go.
We got the W. A W is a W. I think the quote was the better quote, the more respectful quote is the Jimmy Valvano quote, survive in advance.
Yep.
And that's what the Packers did. They did not play a great game by any means, but when it mattered, they showed up.
So I was able to text with my brother, Pat, who's, again, a huge Bears fan. Like, always has been, always will be.
Yeah.
And I got to – and I thought we lost the game. And I was like, good for him, because he's the kind of guy that roots for him. He's diehard. He's never going to quit. And the text exchange between me and my brother after the blocked field goal was quite humorous, and I will not be sharing that on the podcast.
I was going to say, we could take a screenshot of that. Maybe not on the podcast. We could take a screenshot, always upload it to social media.
Maybe, but quite humorous.
We can always blur out if there's certain phrases that can't say. But, yeah, so Jordan Love had another interception in this game.
Yep. In the red zone, I believe.
Yes, it was in the red zone. He had decent numbers at the end. He was 13 to 17 with 261 and one touchdown pass. He also ended up engineering the game-winning drive where Christian Watson, he's been hot for a while, and he showed up there at the end with a 60-yard catch on the final possession. But, yeah, that interception, I mean, he's got to clean that up. Right. Like if Jordan Love wants to be in that category of being one of the top quarterbacks, and especially wants to have success in the NFC North, you got to clean that up. Because here's the other thing, and we could pause on the Packers for a second. We grew up, I was a part of the Packers when we fought for the divisional lead. We've watched them since our careers have been done own that division. But the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell right now, holy shit.
Dude, I would fucking run through a wall to play for that guy.
And you know what's awesome about it? They don't give a fuck about anybody else in the NFL. You actually have grown men that are being paid millions of dollars to play football that are saying they're running up the score. Why are they running up the score? And the Lions are saying, because we don't give a fuck.
Right, I agree.
Dude, this last game, I don't have it written down. It was something like 50-some to, 9 or whatever. I don't know what the score was. It was something like that. They didn't pull their starters until after they scored, I think it was 7 touchdowns.
Damn.
Then they pulled their start. Jared Goff was still playing quarterback in the fourth quarter of that game.
Right.
And now here's what people got to remember. Dan Campbell was a player on the 0-16 lines. Oh. He knows what it's like to lose.
Right.
And he also knows what it's like to win, what you have to do to win, and what you have to do to maintain winning. And once again, I'm going to use the phrase, he don't give a fuck.
And I tell you what, listening to his press conference and watching him in the locker room and how much respect he has for his players and those
the mutual respect
freaking players would fucking lay down in traffic for that guy if he asked him to, because that's the kind of bond that they have. I mean, it gets me excited talking about him and watching him produce. Like I said, good for him. And aren't you you knew him or played with him or something along those lines?
We have mutual friends. We've met up a couple times over the years prior to him getting in coaching. Yeah, he's a wild guy. Very outspoken, motivated type of individual. He is what you see on the field. I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I remember that first press conference where he said, "We'll bite your kneecap off."
Yep.
And they're just biting people's kneecaps off right now.
Even in this, he had a team meeting. He's like, we're going to do, we're going to grab a hold of him. We're going to drag him out deeper into the water.
Yes.
Deeper into the water. And then we're going to hold him down. I mean, who uses it?
Exactly.
I love the analogy.
Exactly. What I was going to say was he is the perfect analogy of, I think we're seeing a culture shift in professional or just coaching in general. I think the Packers proved it first in 2010 when they won the Super Bowl. They had the most former players on that 2010 staff that won a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And now look at all the former players that are coaching. Yep. And it's just that evolution where you take it back 30 years, 50 years, it was smart individuals that couldn't play the game of football but understood the game of football that were coaches and could relay the message of football. Mm-hmm. And now, I think whether it's because football's evolved that much that you have to be smart to be able to be good at it, that these players are smart. Right. They've done it, but they're smart enough to also explain it. And guys like Dan, I mean, he's out there arguably the best coach in the NFL right now.
And still has the fire like he's playing, which is, I mean, it's contagious. It really is. So.
Because think about it today. How many, I mean, we're not taking a thing away from Coach Barry Alvarez. Right. But how many Coach Alvarez's are there out there today that motivate the way he did? It's just, today, like college football, today it's about money. Money's the
Right.
motivation.
Right.
Like who knows? Maybe these guys will start signing contracts where it's like bonus contracts. If you make the playoffs, you get this much more money, or if you do where it's like incentivized,
Right.
and that's what they're playing for. That's what it's going to come down to, because we said college is becoming more of a business. But from a coaching standpoint, there's just how do coaches motivate?
Right.
Let alone how do you motivate in the NFL, where 90% of the players are making more than the head coach.
Very true.
And you get a guy like Dan Campbell out there, and to your point, these guys will lay down the traffic for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So good for him. And again, not really a Lions fan, never have been. I'm not going to hop on the bandwagon, but I tell you what, I'm a huge fan of their coach, and I'm a huge fan of what they're doing, because you love watching those success stories.
Absolutely.
Like that's what sports is all about, watching you turn around a franchise, and completely very similar to Indiana. We talked about them going from never even thinking about Indiana to right now being in the top 5. Same thing,
Yep.
So
100% agree. So we said on offense, we had Tawi Walker, or no, I'm sorry, not Tawi's. Badgers. We're back
Josh
to Packers. Jacobs. He ran 76 yards on 18 carries, which, he's the most consistent back that I think the Packers have. But one of the quotes that we read was, he's running better than his blockers are blocking.
Yep.
And that's what you love out of a running back. But at the same time, too, the O-line needs to step it up. On defense, basically, defense just didn't do enough in that game until the final drive. The final drive was huge. They came through when they needed to come through. But
But then they shit the bed because they had 2 sacks in a row, right? And then all of a sudden it's like 3rd and 19, and
yes.
we give up a freaking monster ball, and I'm going, where the hell?
And not only that, like I'm looking at on our defense defending the rush, Swift for the Bears, DeAndre Swift had a 39-yard touchdown run. Swift averaged 5.1 carries per game. I think at the end it was 33 carries for Chicago as a whole, 33 carries for 174 yards. Caleb Williams ran the ball for 70 yards.
Yes, he did.
We're just giving up way too much on defense. Now, granted, that final drive came through there are more so special teams, but it's basically your D linemen that got the block to get the win. That was huge. But yeah, just giving up way, way too much there at the end on defense. Now, the scary thing for our defense, well, offense and defense, is so next week for the Packers, yeah, we're playing at home, which is always an advantage for Green Bay playing in Lambeau, but we have the 49ers.
Yep.
We have Nick Bosa on defense, who's going to be a beast. We know Nick Bosa is a beast. And Christian McCaffrey is healthy and running like crazy at running back for the 49ers, and we got to be able to contain him. And 49ers just had our number over the years, and it's going to be a challenging game to say the least.
Yep, and we'll see. Hopefully, we don't see Nick Bosa doing his President Trump dance after he.
Hopefully, we don't. Hopefully, we don't, because him and that defense, they definitely, as we said earlier, they get excited about that, and the whole defense. He had half the defense doing it with them, and that's, like we've said, that's new craze in the NFL. And I think just sports in general. We've seen college kids do it, high school kids do it, and now half the NFL is doing it for defensive celebrations and touchdown celebrations. But the winner at the end, it was funny on social media too. I love watching the social media clips. I always wonder who really videotaped. Like, I almost think like me and you need to watch a Badger game, and if it comes down the wire, like I need to videotape you. I just don't think we're gonna have like crazy emotion at the end of the game, where like these people like break their TVs and do shit like that. But it was funny watching Bears fans when I don't know if it's their wives or girlfriends videotaping them, and they see the block, like they're expecting to win, then they see a block and they're like crying and losing their shit and all that stuff. So,
well, I even saw a guy that was live in the stadium and was counting back, just super excited, doing like before kickoff, like, this is amazing. This is we never experienced this before, and you're gonna watch this place erupt, and he's gonna kick it through, blah blah blah, and then it's just blocked, and then just shut him down emotionally, like.
Can you imagine being a Packers fan walking out of that stadium there, where they were high for so long, and then you're just smiling at them?
Yep. But that's life. It's football, man. Any given Sunday, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Seriously. You win and lose by inches.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up another episode. Stay tuned next week for another episode of 217 South Mills.
Just remember, it's brought to you by Cabin Coffee Altoona, located at 2922 Meadowlark Lane in Altoona, Wisconsin. Hey, folks, we mentioned this before. We are a roastery. If you want the freshest coffee you can get, shoot me an email. Go online. You can find our menu there. Shoot me an email. I'll contact you, and we'll get a mail to you immediately. I just mailed some more coffee out to let's see, California and to Pittsburgh this weekend. So.
Nice. And you saw the commercial in the middle of the episode, so you could always rewind it, Go back to that commercial, follow the step-by-step tutorial, and it will get you connected with Joe and get that coffee order.
Have a good one, folks. Thanks for watching.
See you next time. Thank you for listening to Joe and I today. We hope you enjoyed your time with us. If you like what you heard, please give 217 South Mills a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Go tell your friends about us. Like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
I'd like to thank Cabin Coffee Altoona for sponsoring us. Everything is always better at the cabin. See you next time. And remember, folks, Red has to run.